Well, thank you, and good afternoon to everybody. The World Bank has adopted a strategic framework on development and climate change in order to guide and support the operational responses to the challenges faced by World Bank-supported projects due to climate change. It is in this context that anything that the bank is doing on EIA or other tools for impact assessment, it has to be evaluated or discussed. This framework was approved in November 2008. The two main objectives of the framework are to enable the World Bank Group to effectively support sustainable development and poverty reduction as climate risk and climate-related economic opportunities arise, and to facilitate global action and interactions among all countries. So to a significant extent, the strategic framework hinges on creating a collaborative process in order to internalize and see the best way of incorporating climate change considerations into development. And to that effect, 6 action areas have been proposed in which, under this framework, the bank has been working. Support, the first one is the support climate action in country-led development processes. So under the leadership of what a country would like to do, the bank would come and provide some support in climate action. And that could be done through mobilizing additional concessional and innovative finance, facilitating the development of market-based financing mechanisms, and to the extent possible to leverage private sector resources. The technological area is prominent in the framework, and it aims to support accelerated development and deployment of new technologies. As I guess you will agree, without that, very little really can be done in terms of addressing the challenges of climate change. And finally, to step up policy research, knowledge, and capacity building. The framework commits the World Bank to update guidance and existing tools, such as EIA and SEA, to take account of climate change considerations. Considering that this framework was adopted 2 years ago, what we can say is that in these 2 years, 2 important events, two important developments have taken place. The first one is that there was an environmental independent review that has been done on this World Bank safeguards policies that have been in place or are in place for almost the last 20 years. And at the same time, the bank is considering a new environment strategy. As a result of that, what has come about is that there is a need to review, modernize, and probably update the safeguard policies, which include environmental impact assessment or environmental assessment, and it's planned that this will be done in the next 24 months following a detailed and substantive participatory process. That's one important thing that is already starting. And on the other hand, that climate change dimension of World Bank projects would warrant special attention during this review of these policies. So we don't have yet updated or we don't have yet new guidance, but this is the road that the bank will follow in order to achieve that goal. But in the meantime, there have been interesting developments you may want to take note about. Projects are beginning to assess climate change risks and as well as greenhouse gases emissions potential in key vulnerable sectors, but not as a safeguard requirement. more as a way of accumulating knowledge and understanding better the process and what can be done about what we have in the portfolio. For example, the water sector as well as the power generation have experienced an interesting pilots or processes already. One, it's been in the case of Bangladesh with the Patma, what's called the project on Patma Bridge, and another in South Africa with the ESCOM Power project. There is also, the bank has also adopted a new mandatory screening criteria for coal power-based generation. So the bank will continue supporting coal power-based generation, but there is a criteria in order to optimize how this resource is used when resources from the World Bank are involved in that. On the side of IFC, Alan has made a very interesting presentation already. I just would like to add that IFC requires in sector projects greenhouse gas emissions estimation before approval. But this is now being done mainly as an internal exercise in order to consolidate tools and processes as part of the preparation for changes that may come later on. In what regards to a strategic environmental assessment, the bank has been working in close coordination with the OECD DAC SEA task team. In that regard, guidance on SEA, as many of you may know, has been issued, and within that umbrella, there is a note on climate, on how to address climate change in policies, plans, and programs that also the bank is using. Also, the bank, since 2005, established a pilot program on SEA, particularly focusing on policy and sector reform. Within this pilot program, we have 2 pilots in which SEA approaches are being used in order to develop climate change adaptation plans, particularly in Orissa, India, and Michoacán, Mexico. Tomorrow, we will have a special session in which we will have the opportunity to discuss the progress that these pilots have done, the lessons that we are learning from that, as they are already projects under implementation, not yet completed. So that would be, I would say, a summary, a quick summary of what the bank has been doing, and I would be glad to provide any clarification that may be needed.